Welcome to Accounting Marketing Doesn't Suck, the podcast for accountants. Join host Hugh Duffy as he takes you behind the scenes with successful accountants and industry leaders. Learn how to grow a more profitable accounting practice while building the business you want to run, not a business that's running you.
Accounting Marketing Doesn't Suck is brought to you by BuildYourFirm.com. Let's face it, as an accountant, finding new clients in today's landscape is hard work. Let us do the heavy lifting for you. Outsource your marketing and lead generation to BuildYourFirm.com. We offer customized coaching and turnkey lead generation programs for accountants and firms just like yours. Find out more by visiting BuildYourFirm.com. That's BuildYourFirm.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Accounting Marketing Doesn't Suck podcast. I'm your host, Hugh Duffy, and on today's show, we'll be talking to Steve Piascik, president at Piascik. Piascik is a CPA firm servicing professional athletes in the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, PGA Tour, and more leagues throughout the world. Before introducing Steve, I'd like to share some insights on why our listeners would like to hear more about Piascik's story. Steve graduated from Bloomsburg University with a degree in accounting. He has a master's degree in taxation from Virginia Commonwealth, better known as VCU. Before starting his own CPA practice in 2001, Steve was a senior tax manager at KPMG. Piascik has been recognized nationally by Insight Public Accounting, IPA, as the third fastest growing CPA firm and is identified also as one of the best firms in the under $5 million group. With that brief introduction, let me introduce to you Steve Piascik. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
So as a person who loves sports, and I have all my life and probably will continue to, I'm really looking forward to this discussion and getting a better peek underneath the tent in terms of what you've done, what motivated you to develop this niche, and what aspects of it you enjoy. So by all means, I understand that your firm has expanded aggressively into international tax, cryptocurrency, and some other niches, but today's discussion is going to focus on professional athletes and your side of their business. So what was the spark that motivated you to focus on professional athletes?
When I started my practice in 2001 and I left KPMG, they were trying to promote me, not lose me as one of their lead salespeople in the Richmond, Virginia mid-Atlantic market. I knew I had to be different though. I did not ever want to be a small mom and pop shop. Not that we're a huge firm, but we're a large regional firm and don't ever plan on being one of the top 50 or even 100. We want to be that specialized firm, and we knew we needed niches to be able to do that. So I focused on two of them. One of them being professional athletes, which I had experience in from a previous employer, as well as a lot of contacts. And then secondly, international, that I had some experience in, but had to go and hire the experts around me, which I knew had friends, et cetera, et cetera. But I started the practice by myself, and I started the practice with 0 clients. I didn't take any clients from my former employer, which was kind of crazy when you start thinking about it. But now 20 years later, it was the right thing to do because they know that I respected them and I built this the right way, all organically, not buying firms and just always doing the right thing, but having niches. And that's what professional athletes I've always enjoyed. I've enjoyed hanging out with the guys. For the most part, they're mostly guys. And it's always been fun. So when work is fun, it's not work.
No, I totally understand, and it's great what you've done. So were you an athlete yourself?
I actually was an athlete. I got taken out from an injury. I played soccer, or football, as we call it in Europe, and followed all the way up through high school, and then was taken out by an injury and couldn't play anymore at the doctor's request. So unfortunately, but I think football is my favorite sport, and basketball would be my second favorite, followed by golf.
That's great. So what was the early break that helped you create this path in this industry? I mean, where did you get this, opening in the dam to be able to knock it through?
And it's funny, I did have one incredible break, and I think everybody gets their break when you start your own practice, which accelerates you into the next field. Being that from a previous employer, I had relationships with agents. And being that KPMG was very kind to say, allowed me to discuss my firm with others during the day as I was on their pay roster because they knew I'd work at either 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. didn't matter. I made a call to one of my contacts who ended up giving me 11 professional baseball players after a call on the way home. And that really said, well, wow, I can do this. Now, that's never happened since. I've gotten 5 at a time, but never 11. But to start your practice with 11 from a phone call just really got me thinking more and more, joining the NFLPA in 2002 when that program created, marketing to all the agents and the money managers and just growing it because now all of a sudden we had a pretty large base because most CPA firms, deal with maybe 1 or 2 athletes, not to mention 11, and then we just grew it by the dozens after that.
And are there particular sports that you avoid?
There are no sports that we avoid. There are harder ones to work with, which would be Olympians, just because they have such vast tax issues. However, they don't have any money to pay the fees. So it restricts you on being able to go see them, being able to cover the cost of the directors and managers that need to work on it. So Olympian athletes are the hardest, but we have never avoided or not taken an athlete, of different brand or anything like that.
So what aspects of working with professional athletes do you love?
Almost every athlete you'll find goes from rags to riches, and a very conservative number is 85% of professional athletes within 1 year of their contract being over will be bankrupt. So it's easy to say most will go from rags to riches back to rags. My thing that gets me up in the morning working with athletes is growing their wealth. Seeing an individual come out of college who, financial resources are limited and they get a $10 million signing bonus. And to keep them grounded, to have them save that. So literally at the ripe age of 28 or 29, because remember, most of these athlete careers are 4 to 5 years, in length, that they're set for the rest of their lives. That's what I enjoy being able to say. I help this individual and their families in almost every case, preserve their wealth and be able to do good in their communities, charitable, et cetera, and be able to be a part of that to say, I really, help this individual understand how to handle money, how to treat money, because I always say money is like the ocean. It's a beautiful thing. You can look at it. It's great to have, but it can also kill you, just like the ocean, as pretty as it is and beautiful to watch, can kill you. So you got to be careful with that.
No, and I respect the ocean as well. What role does a sports agency play in guiding their client to the right CPA firm?
Huge. The first person that the athlete generally trusts is their agent, and trust is a big word. So you have to be able to support it. The agents are the ones who bring the athletes to us, I would say probably 70 to 80% of the time. We don't go out and market to specific individual athletes, et cetera. We have the money managers, the lawyers, and the agents that we talk with on a regular basis, communicate on a monthly, quarterly basis, that then will say, I received so-and-so in the draft, we need you to have a conversation with them, come see them. So the agents are huge because they're trusted and they've provided the opportunity that the athletes go to.
And are there certain sports agencies that you prefer not to work with?
No. I have found the sports agents that we work with all to be extremely reputable, hardworking, honest, and have high integrity. Now, I'm not saying they all are, but the ones that we're able and successfully, we choose to work with, they're fantastic. So we're very fortunate in that way.
And from a marketing standpoint, what outreach do you do to better position your firm for the future?
We will belong to different groups and focus on working on our relationships with the money managers and the agents. And then, like I said, thirdly, the attorneys that get involved, because we're growing and starting businesses with these athletes, et cetera. So we're constantly talking with them. So keeping our relationships alive with those individuals are what grows our practice the most.
And are there certain leagues as well that you try to develop a relationship with to further the promotion of your firm amongst athletes, especially those coming out of a draft?
Yep. The NFLPA is a great organization that we have experience with in the past. Since 2002. I've spoken with their different entities about 5 times and supporting their efforts, et cetera. Being that most of our athletes are NFL players or were NFL players, because of the number of volume, we spend most of our time with that group. We also do different foundations and camps for different players, different high schools, different colleges, to be able to spread the news of what I like to call financial literacy, because they're just dumbfounded with the dollars in which they get, right out of the gate.
Can you go a little bit further on the colleges piece without getting into confidentiality? I mean, what colleges do you get in front of?
Well, it's been a number of them over the years. It's the larger colleges that have the individuals that are going into the drafts, primarily. It's also local colleges in the state of Virginia, because our office is located in Richmond, Virginia, that we like to make sure that we're giving back to the community as such. But it's obviously the colleges that have the opportunities of the individuals going in there, and whether it's a interview or whether it's a class or whether it's a speech or something like that. So, I mean, we do it for schools all over the country, but, primarily it's the ones that are, getting the drafts out.
So are there speaking engagements you do on an annual basis? I mean, you mentioned the NFLPA. Are there other ones that you do on a regular basis to make people aware of your firm and what you do?
Well, none of them are really regular. They're all custom. They all kind of come up, every other month or, at different times throughout the year. They're not regular at all. In fact, you got to make your schedule kind of a little more loose to make sure you can fit these in. So, no, there's not really regular ones, but there's several of them that come up throughout the year or years.
And do you find yourself watching drafts a little bit closer than the average fan?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's fun to see what schools they come from. It's fun watching the guys. I go to some of the collegiate games in the SEC and others, and to watch these young men in the NFL go from high school, which we had one get drafted this year from one of our local high schools, and it's just amazing to see these gentlemen that you knew as kids now become men. So I enjoy it a lot.
And for those that are drafted and they're fortunate to become a free agent, do you provide some type of tax planning specifically targeted towards free agents?
Not specifically towards free agents, because we include in our package tax planning with everybody. So we're not trying to segregate anybody out, because your biggest line item on their personal budget and their personal financial statements is taxes. So tax planning is key to make sure that we're making everything efficient. Free agents, absolutely need the help, but so do all the other guys. So we got to make sure we're doing everything correctly for that.
And there's some unique aspects to tax planning for professional athletes, whether or not it's where they live, their appearances, accepting transportation on a private jet. Can you elaborate on some of that stuff? Just so people realize how difficult it is and how complex it is with some of these issues.
I think the hardest thing about an athlete is saying no to their entourage and all the people that come to sell them different products, services, like you said, jets. I mean, when you really start pricing a jet out, it is extremely expensive versus even just flying first class. So you have to ground them and say, yes, you have the wherewithal to do this, but here is the cost if you do. And we show them how their money can't grow as fast because they're spending different amounts on, cars, multiple houses, anything of that nature. That's hard for them to comprehend sometimes and understand until I literally show them the black and white numbers. And they're like, wow. I mean, one example was I had a new draft pick stated that he wanted to purchase a dog. 23-year-old gentleman wants to buy a dog. That's fine. And we sat down and I do this personal budget with him and walk through the months. And at the end of the little exercise, it showed that he was going to spend $6,500 a year on his dog, and realized that he was going to be gone, 6 or 7 months out of the year. And he said, there's no way I'm spending $6,000 on a dog. And I said, well, this exercise was well worthwhile, wasn't it? And he received a very large signing bonus. That wasn't the amount, but he was grounded and understood that, wow, that's a big number. It's not just, they spend $500 a month. No, it's more than that,
And what about signing a bonus? I assume you have to counsel people about where they sign the bonus and some of the small pieces around that.
Yes, and bonuses have gotten a lot of legalities on it lately because there's a lot of taxing authorities that are telling all of us tax advisors that bonuses need to be spread against the contract duty days. There's a lot of argument to that, stating that no, if you're in a no-tax state and your home team is in a no-tax state for state taxes, that you can allocate it to that. So it's one of those controversial topics at the moment of how is that allocated? And everybody, of course, wants to assign it to the no taxing state. And the states, as aggressive as they are, do not agree.
So what are some of the loose ends that they have to button up before they sign that contract? Voter registration, driver's license, banking accounts. What are some of the small little things that are on your checklist?
One of the things that's most important is how many days they're going to be in whatever state they choose to live in. It is difficult to prove that you are not a resident of your home team state, just because based off of the contract and where you need to be for practice days, et cetera, you need to count those days so that you can appropriately plan where you're going to be paying taxes in and plan, the best you can. You may not be able to allocate your duty days more towards a non-tax state. However, any investment income and any other business income that you may have with entities you set up can be set up in those non-tax states and go from there. So we're always looking at where is the apartment, where is the house, what days you're spending where. And like you said, where are you getting your mail? Where do you call home? Where's your voter registration? Where do your credit cards go to? At the end of the day, the state taxing authorities always ask, when you say you're going home, where is that? And that's what always gets them, that simple question, that we want to make sure that we're answering correctly.
So do you get in guiding them in terms of what state they live in?
Absolutely. We're trying to make that efficient in every possible way we can and push them to, the Texases, the Floridas, et cetera.
And with the sheer size of some of these athletic contracts, do you get into philanthropy and gifting and all those other topics?
Yes, private foundations that, they want to give back to their communities. I proudly sponsor and work with the Malcolm Jenkins Foundation. He does a tremendous amount for the Philadelphia area, as you'll see, as well as the southern New Jersey area. These guys are doing a lot of good for their communities. We are just wanting to make sure that we make sure it's tax efficient for them, because they can simply just write a check and get the same deduction. So we want to make sure as they're doing things that it's getting a bigger cost savings and a bigger ability to put more into the communities by doing a foundation, because it's a lot more work. And what they cannot do, which a lot of them believe they can in the beginning, is hire their family who has no experience in running foundations or doing things to be able to get them, some deductible pay that way. And we're constantly showing them how that does not work. You need qualified people to run things. There's other ways, whether it's gifting, et cetera, to be able to help out your family than, running it through a foundation, which is not appropriate.
And is this something you provide in-house or better outsourced?
No, we provide all that in-house. What we do not do in-house is manage money, legal work, of course, because we're not attorneys, or sell insurance. The financial planning aspect, we coordinate with the money managers. They have all the software for that. I like to be the quarterback in all the process by corralling the attorneys, the money managers, the insurance, the agents, et cetera, on a quarterly basis to be able to discuss the athletes' issues each quarter to make sure that they're taken care of, et cetera. Sometimes it's more often than that, but it's at least on a quarterly basis.
And I'm sure your office and your man room basically has endless pictures, autographs, you name it.
Yeah, we have a few. We literally have jerseys like leaning against the wall that aren't even hung up yet because, the guys come by and that's the thing that, I've been doing athlete returns now for about 26 years. I think all my competition is now retired. To be able to give a charity or most importantly, a young child a ball by a person that they adore is just, it warms my heart. And that was it is still great to do. I mean, I'm a lot older now, obviously, but in the beginning when my children were young and to be able to go to their friends and say, here's a ball signed by so-and-so, I mean, it just makes you want to get up in the morning. I mean, it's just wonderful. And the guys are so gracious with that. When I say, hey, I have an 8-year-old friend who wants a ball and I bring the ball, so they don't have to, we're like, absolutely, Steve. And they understand the power they hold with these young kids.
Mm. Yeah, are there particular sporting events that you cherish, you go to on a regular basis, you really get motivated about?
I don't go to on a regular basis, but I really enjoy watching the Super Bowl, obviously. I don't go because, to me, it's work. And I'd rather sit at a Super Bowl party at a friend's house and enjoy myself than go and be working at an event like that. Love the NBA playoffs. The NHL playoffs were just really good going on. I'm getting into lacrosse a lot right now with the new PLL league. It's just kind of neat of where that whole sport is going. So any playoff Super Bowls and young sports are fun for me to watch.
You didn't mention the Masters, huh?
We watched the U.S. Open the other weekend with my father-in-law. Do like the Masters. Hopefully going there one day.
Okay. Well, Steve, I really appreciate it. It's been great to hear about your story. For those of you that would like to learn more about what they're doing, I would encourage you to visit their website, Piascik.com, Piascik.com. Let me repeat how you spell that, www.piascik.com. And Steve, I really appreciate it. This was fascinating. I love sports just like you do, and it's neat that you can kind of marry what you do professionally with what your day-to-day responsibilities are. This is really cool.
Agreed. Well, glad to help. And Hugh, thanks for showing the interest.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
If you liked today's episode, you should also check out episode 23, where we interview Gail Crosley about why it pays to specialize and how to build out your specialty. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Accounting Marketing Doesn't Suck, the podcast for accountants who want to shift away from commodity-based services and become pickier over the clients they attract. Visit buildyourfirm.com to learn how other accountants are making this transition.